Hey, this is Mark with the Practical Still. We're going to kind of open a bottle. This is the Boulder Spirits straight bourbon, but it's a bottled in bond whiskey. The cool thing about it is, and I don't have a full bottle, I don't know, maybe a year ago, the last podcast Dan and I recorded before COVID descended on us all, he had a bottle of this there and gave me a sample. We sipped it then, and I really liked it, and didn't really know anything about it, got to digging on it, and what's cool is, they do an American single malt whiskey. And I think the owner of that distillery is kind of into single malts. But this bourbon is 51% corn, which it has to be bourbon, but it's 44% malted barley in there. And the rest is, I think, rye. But that's a lot of malted barley to be in a bourbon. And I think that's what gave it kind of a unique feature. And it's bottled in bond, which means a lot, especially for a new distillery who often will put out either sourced whiskey or very young distillate. 4 years, it means it got to 4 years. Bottled in bond has to be at least 4 years old, the product of one distiller in one distilling season, and there's 2 distilling seasons a year, kind of a spring and a fall. It just meets those requirements. I forgot I had this. And as an aside, I really hope distilleries start sending Dan and I samples because, frankly, it's kind of expensive to buy all this whiskey just to taste it and talk about it. I mean, we're going to keep doing it. But that'd be nice. So I thought, nobody sent us a sample yet. I'll make my own sample. I'll taste it. Maybe they'll see it and send me samples of the other stuff. I really wish I hadn't poured so much in there. But it'll go back. Yeah, that's interesting. There's definitely a maltiness to it. Yeah, it's kind of like I remember. There's an oaky up front. It's definitely malty. I mean, you definitely can feel like it's some of a little young, but not grainy, and that's good. There's some fruit in there. But just different. You know, if you buy, and I think these are $50 or $60 or $70 bottles. I'd have to go check. But boy, that's just delicious for a locally produced whiskey. It's got a beautiful color. You know, it's all the qualities you want in a bourbon. Doesn't feel rushed. Feels like they did the quality right. It's definitely peppery. And there's, Dan always talks about that grappa thing. It's not that. It's there's just fruit on the nose. There's grape, maybe grape or like apple peel. That's nice. So perhaps a little pricey for a younger, locally produced spirit, but bottled in bond. I love the Bottled in Bond Act of 1897, one of the very first, if not the first, consumer protection acts. And I'm always looking, because it's hard. I mean, we're about the practicality of the hobby. And that makes it hard to recommend people go out and try small craft distillers because the quality's just up and down on those. It's always nice when I taste one and I can wholeheartedly say, it's worth it. Maybe it costs a little more than one of the big distillers for something of comparable age and even bottled in bond. But it's worth giving that a try, support that smaller distillery. This is certainly one of those. And I said I wish I hadn't poured so much, but I don't think it's going to go to waste. So if you're out in Colorado and you can try Boulder Spirits, they do all sorts of things. Like I said, they do an American single malt. They do bourbons, both the bottled in bond, like I'm drinking here, and a not bottled in bond. A few other things and some gins, but give that a try if it's available in your area. If you're not in Colorado, try it then too. But when you can, support those small distillers. Frankly, if we really want innovation, that's where we're going to get it. I don't know any of the major distilleries that are doing a bourbon with 44% malted barley in it. And frankly, I like that. I hope you do too. Let me know. Cheers.